Shalom, Chaverim. Let me start by saying that it's with great sadness that I share your grief over the death of more than 40 brave Israelis who lost their lives, many while trying to save others in the fire near Haifa. My country, the Netherlands, is amongst other countries trying to help out fighting this fire, which is threatening the life and the property of thousands of your compatriots. I offer my heartfelt condolences to the families of those who perished. My thoughts are with them. Ladies and gentlemen, Israel is an immense source of inspiration for me. When I came to your country for the first time as a teenager, I lived here for approximately a year. And I am not ashamed to stand with Israel. I'm proud to do so. I'm grateful to your country. I will always defend Israel. Your country is the cradle of Western civilization. We call it the Judeo-Christian civilization with good reason. And Israel is often being treated unfairly. The world looks at the plight of the Palestinians in refugee camps in Lebanon, in Gaza and other places, and many in the world blame Israel. The United Nations claim that over 4.7 million Palestinian refugees, and many once again blame Israel for that. And these voices say the Palestinians should be allowed to return to Palestine. But where is Palestine? Many say Israel must solve the problems of the Palestinians. But is Israel guilty of the plight of the Palestinian refugees? This is the question we should ask ourselves first. And my answer to that question is no. The Arab leaders are to be blamed, and Islam is to be blamed. Let me first tell you why, and then where you can find the real Palestine. As we all know, at the end of the Second World War, there were 50 million refugees. Today, all the refugee problems dating from before the 50s have been solved, except for one, the problem of the Palestinians. And why? Why did that problem not get solved until today? The reason is because the Arab countries did not allow it to get solved. And because Islam does not allow it to get solved. In May 1948, the number of Jews in Arab countries was estimated to be close to 1 million. Today, fewer than 8,000 Jews are left in the entire Arab world. In 1948, the Arab countries forced the Jews out and confiscated their properties. More Jews, as a matter of fact, more Jews fled the Arab countries than Arabs fled Israel. And where are the Jewish refugee camps? There are none. So why are there refugee camps for Palestinians in areas surrounding Israel? Because, ladies and gentlemen, the Palestinians were not welcomed in the neighboring Arab countries. There was no Arab solidarity. The refugees were forced into camps and slums where many of their descendants still linger today. And under international definitions, the status of refugee or displaced persons only applies to first-generation refugees. However, the United Nations make an exception for Palestinians. Descendants of Palestinian refugees are granted the same refugee status as their ancestors. And the consequence of that is that the number of so-called Palestinian refugees registered with the United Nations increased from 1100,000 in 1950 to over 4.7 million in 2010. These refugees are being used today as a demographic weapon against your country, Israel. And instead of blaming the inhospitable Arab regimes, many in the world blame Israel. My friends, the blame should be laid where it belongs, and that is with the Arab world. The Jewish refugees built new lives for themselves. They did what millions of refugees have done in the course of history, including in the 20th century, the Germans, who had to leave Sudetenland and the lands east of the Oder and Neisse rivers, or the Hungarians, who fled Transylvania, or the Greeks, who were ejected from the Aegean coast of Anatolia, or the Hindus, who fled the Punjab. With each generation, the resentment of these refugees and their descendants slowly faded away. Time heals all wounds. Acceptance of the new situation is the norm. Islam, however, conditions Muslims to hate Jews. It is a religious duty to do so. Israel must be destroyed because it's the homeland of the Jews. And influential Islamic scholars such as Mohammed Tantawi, the Grand Imam of the Al-Azhar in Cairo, the most prestigious center of Muslim learning, calls Jews the enemies of Allah. And this Tantawi, who died last March, was generally considered a moderate by the Western media and policymakers all over Europe. But how did this moderate person address a delegation of Palestinians who visited him in the year 2002? He urged them to intensify suicide attacks against Israelis, saying that every so-called martyrdom operation against, I quote, any Israeli, including children, women, teenagers, is a legitimate act according to Islamic religious law and an Islamic commandment until the people of Palestine regain their land. End of quote. And Nizar Kabani, one of the most revered poets in the Arab world, praised the madness of those who are blinded by an ideology of hatred. In his poem, Ode to the Intifada, he wrote, and I quote, "O mad people of Gaza, 1,000 greetings to the mad. The age of political reason has long departed, so teach us madness." End of quote. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the nature of the Islamic enemies confronting the Jews. It's sheer madness. And Israel, on the other hand, is a beacon of light. It is like a Hanukkah menorah whose lights have been kindled in a region that until the year 1948 was engulfed with darkness. And my friends, I believe that Israel is not to be blamed for the situation in the Middle East. The problem is Islam's rejection of Israel's right to exist. Only last month we learned that Fatah concluded its convention in Ramallah by declaring its blatant refusal to recognize Israel as a Jewish state. And the problem is also our Western leaders' refusal to understand that Israel is the West canary in the coal mine. If the Jews are denied the right to live in freedom and peace, soon will we all be denied this right. If the light of Israel is extinguished, we will all face darkness. If Israel falls, the West falls.